Burbank, the media capital of the world.
To participate in the general public comment period, please call now at 818-238-3335. Members of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes dependent upon the number of speakers.
Good evening and welcome to Burbank City Council joint meeting with a successor agency, Housing Authority, Parking Authority, Public Finance Authority, and Youth Endowment Services Fund Board on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. I would like to invite Casey Way, Associate Pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Burbank, to lead us in the invocation this evening, and will everyone please stand and remain standing for the flag salute. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, sisters and brothers of our City Council, our community leaders, and most of all, our residents and friends, let us pray together. Almighty God, we thank you for this evening. We pray for your shalom and peace to fall down upon this space, this very honored space. We lift up our leaders tonight. We pray that you would guide them, give them light, give them encouragement as they lead, as they walk alongside us as a community. God, we recognize also that there are many things happening in the world as we continue remembering and giving you thanks for the holiday we just celebrated. We do pray for those who are still experiencing slavery, that you would free them. God, for families and kids in this community, we pray that you would protect them, keep them safe. For those without homes tonight, we pray that you would give them permanent shelter. For those who are hungry, we pray that you would feed them. God, for those dealing with addiction, clear a path toward recovery. For those dealing with issues around mental health, give them calm this evening. God, as we even think about those who are struggling with COVID still, that you would guide those caring for people who aren't feeling well today, that you would bring peace and shalom to those who are still dealing everything with COVID and around COVID. Most of all, we give you thanks for this city. We pray that you would continue to help our leaders, care for them, walk with them. For this, we give you thanks. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, please conduct a roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Frutos.
Good evening. Happy to be here.
Good evening. Councilmember Schultz.
Present.
Councilmember Springer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Anthony. Mayor Talamantes.
Present.
Vice Mayor Anthony is absent tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to advise the community that there will be 5 periods of public comment tonight. Members of the public may comment in person or by telephone during the general public comment period. Public comment for the reports to council will be taken in person only. The first period is for general public comment on any matter concerning city business and/or any agenda items. If you would like to participate in general public comment over the phone, please call now at 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. Additional in-person only public comment period will be available after each report to council. Before we continue the meeting, I would like to have a moment of silence for Corporal Michael Paredes and Police Officer Joseph Santana, who both bravely served the El Monte Police Department. Corporal Paredes and Officer Santana were killed last Tuesday while responding to an emergency call. We extend our sincere condolences to their families. The city of Burbank grieves with the community of El Monte, as we too know how it feels to lose an officer in the line of duty. We take this opportunity to thank all of the men and women who protect and serve our communities. Thank you. Tonight, council will be adjourning in memory of Ms. Lila Ramirez, mother of former Burbank Mayor Marcia Ramos. Mrs. Ramirez served her communities of Burbank and Glendale for over 60 years. She served leadership roles in numerous organizations and causes aimed towards increasing equity and expanding opportunities for all. Mrs. Ramirez served as a 60-year member, past president, and co-chair of the Burbank Human Relations Council, and a 50-year member of the League of Women Voters. Her community involvement in Burbank included coach, youth leader, PTA leader, and former board member of the Burbank Coordinating Council and Census Counts Committee. She was also a candidate for the Burbank Unified School District Board. In 2022, State Senator Anthony Portantino honored Ms. Ramirez as the 25th District Woman of the Year. Her steadfast belief in the importance of civic engagement to our democracy contributed to her extraordinary service to both the Burbank and Glendale communities. Mrs. Ramirez had a generous heart, a passion for service, and a courageous voice that spoke out against injustice. She is survived by her beloved husband, Richard, and 4 daughters, Marcia Ramos, Jan Hutchinson, Naisea Ziegler, and Christy Carnegie, who are Burbank residents with their extended families. Her memorial service will be held on Thursday, June 30th at 10 a.m. at Incarnation Church in Glendale. All are welcome to attend. Council conveys our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Lila Ramirez and to all those in the Burbank community who had the honor of knowing her. Joining us this evening is Mrs. Ramirez's daughter and former Burbank Mayor, Marcia Ramos. Welcome, Ms. Ramos.
Thank you, Mayor Telemontes, for the call and for joining this meeting in memory of my mom, Lila. It is especially meaningful at this time because it doesn't escape me that so many in the past 2 years did not get this privilege and honor, and yet they were so deserving of it. Certainly my mother was affected by the whole COVID time. There were challenges for many, and that does not escape us. As you know, my mom was very familiar with these council chambers. She spoke at public comment, she attended many public meetings, and she did this long before I was elected to office. I want you to know that Lila she appreciated greatly the city staff, the city leadership, all the city council members, and she did that for decades. I think she could pick up the phone and call any council member, and they'd take her call. So she appreciated all those in service to this city. For the last 9 months, she courageously battled pancreatic cancer. And during this time, we'd often find a piece of memorabilia, an old news clipping, some old photos, and we'd reminisce about the many good people that she worked with, the many good times that we had, and the advancements of this wonderful city. And I think she was proud. She was very satisfied. Again, I want to thank you on behalf of my entire family, and thank you all, and continue to do the good work. Good night.
And former Mayor Marcia, I want to apologize for pronouncing your mom's name wrong, but I never called her by her first name. I just called her Mrs. Ramirez. So, thank you. Let's see, we do not have any announcements this evening. We have two council presentations on the agenda this evening. First is a presentation by the Burbank Tournament of Roses Association, also known as BTORA. For the Mayor's Award, I welcome Ms. Linda Kosakis, President of BTORA. Welcome, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor Talamantes, council members, staff, and guests. My name is Linda Kazakos, the president of Burbank Tournament of Roses Association. Before I unveil our award, I wanted to give a huge thank you to the following city departments and restaurants that have supported us. They include Burbank Water and Power, Burbank Parks and Recreation, Burbank Public Works, Burbank Police Department, Barrigan's Mexican Restaurant, Chili John's, Domino's, Frontier Walk 2, Handy Market, Lancer's Family Restaurant, Martino's Bakery, Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, Santoro's, Tequila's Cantina, The Ugly Mug Coffee House, Western Bagel, and Wiener Schnitzel. And I am so honored tonight to present to you and the City of Burbank the award. So if you'd please join me. This is our award for the 2022 Rose Parade. We are proud to have won the prestigious Mayor Award for the most outstanding float from a participating city. It says Burbank Tournament of Roses Association, An Unlikely Tale, Mayor's Trophy, January 1st, 2022. And I would like to ask a few members to come up and join me. I have my Vice President Float, Stephen Edward. I have my construction chair, John Reeves. My Deco co-chairs, Kim Bosley, Jeff Cecatini. My current Manpower chair, Teresa Green. My liaison, Janet Deal. And of course, Jason Deal. If you please come up and join me tonight, thank you.
There will be a test.
I'll cover the name tag. No cheating.
Thank you.
So congratulations to the Burbank Tournament of Roses. Obviously, all the volunteers, it takes a lot of volunteers to put this together. And from start to finish, once again, the Mayor's Award. And I know we've discussed this before. Several years ago when I was mayor again, we won the Mayor's Award as well. So it's good luck. So this is the second time around. I appreciate it. And everybody in the community obviously loves it. Everybody across the nation loves it. So once again, thank you very much for all you do for the city of Burbank, putting us on the map. It's just amazing because it takes a lot of work, a lot of hours of putting it together, a lot of preparation, a lot of finalizing the last movement of the float. So if anybody here hasn't ever come out to look at it, December 31st and a couple of days before, obviously, they have to leave December 31st down to the Rose Float Parade.
This
Come-
year it will be on, the parade will be on the 2nd. They never hold a parade on
Sunday.
Sunday, so it will be the 31st and the 1st. We will be having our judging. And we-
Come out and look at it. It's awesome. Or even participate in putting it together. They need a lot of volunteers. So thank you once again. Next, we have the presentation of a certificate of recognition to the St. Finbar Vikings softball team for winning the 2022 Catholic Youth Organization Championship. Thank you all, the family members who are here tonight. Obviously, it takes family to get the girls into practice on time, pick them up after. I always used to when I was coaching. Part of the obligation or responsibility of a parent is to get the kids there 5 minutes before practice starts and be there 5 minutes before it ends. because we don't want to wait around. The coaches, we spend so much time. When I used to coach, we spent so much time coaching and preparing for whatever we're preparing for, a tournament or games, that we really encourage our parents to work with us and get the girls early to practice and pick them up. Be there early to pick them up. So once again, I'd like to welcome, well, no, we'll do that after the certificates are issued. Let me read Sophie, would you come up here, please? It just happens that you're the first one. Sophie Vasquez, in recognition of winning the 2022 Catholic Youth Organization Championship, is a member of the St. Finbar Vikings softball team. On behalf of the Burbank City Council, I commend you for your hard work, dedication, and commitment to teamwork, and congratulate you on this incredible honor. Congratulations. Told you were going to say a few words.
Yes.
Oh, she didn't back away.
Good evening. My name is Sophie. Thank you for having us today. My teammates and I are honored to be here. We thank the City of Burbank for allowing us to use the fields to host our home games. We also thank our coaches for putting in the time and effort to prepare us for this compact and intense season. With their help and the help of our amazing parents like Mr. Reyes and Mr. Sandoval, who stepped in when our coaches were unavailable, we were well prepared to able to win the CYO championship. Thank you to Ms. Connie Valencia because she was able to capture the unforgettable memories we made with beautiful pictures that we will cherish for many years to come. Thank you to all our parents and supporters who drove us to practice and games, were with us every step of the way, and for always being our #1 fans. To my team, thank you for welcoming me with open arms. It was a pleasure sharing the fields with you. We worked as a team, believed in each other, picked each other up, and never gave up. I'm proud to call each and every one of you my teammates. Go Vikings.
Excellent, excellent. Very well said. Now I'd like to have the coaches come on up and help me distribute these the certificates. So the first one is for Mary Lara. That's you? There you, yeah. Ryan Mercervier? Oh, that's you. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you. And third but not least, Rachel Lara. Congratulations, Rachel. There we go. So I'll hand you the certificates and we can start calling the girls up.
Perfect.
Katerina Sandoval.
Oh, she's not here. Okay. Congratulations.
Valentina
What position
Reyes.
you play?
Valentina couldn't make it tonight. She's at another softball practice.
Never ends, year round,
Yep.
year round.
Elizabeth Gabagat. Isabel Batres. Abby Knowles. Nicole Gowanlock. Trinity Talon. Daniela Crisco, also not here tonight. Samantha Sarmasinghe. And Adriana Estrada.
Ladies, before you sit down, I want to hear what positions you play.
I'm Trinity, and I play third base.
I'm Nicole, and I play center field. And pitcher.
I'm Abby, and I play first base.
I'm Isabel, and I play second base.
I'm Elizabeth, and I play right field. I'm Katerina, and I play shortstop and pitcher. I'm Adriana, and I play outfield.
I'm Sophie, and I play catcher.
I'm Samantha, and I played left field.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I was just told to stay to the script, Mr. Mayor. We have the principal here as well. Come on up. Come on up. Yes. Last but not least, you were told you were going to say a few words, right? No. Congratulations to the team.
Thanks so much. I wasn't planning to say anything, but it was nice to meet you and nice to be here. I want to especially thank our coaches for the hours that they spent every day with our students. Without your dedication and commitment, this team wouldn't be the way it is. And all of you girls, I'm so proud of you for representing St. Finbarr School. You did it. We've never won CYO championship. It's my first year at St. Finbarr School, and I can't believe that I'm saying we have the first CYO girls softball championship. So I'm so honored, very honored. And the good thing is most of these girls are 7th graders, so we're going to do it again next year. So I'm very proud of that. Catholic Youth Organization.
Okay, we'll see you back here next year. All right. Take care. Good luck. Good luck, sir. Good luck. Good luck. You can too. Yeah, sure. Everybody's hungry. They want to have dinner.
We got to go eat that cane now.
Oh, don't even say it.
I know.
Thank you, Linda. Moving on with the agenda, that's City Manager Hess. Do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. I actually have 2 items. The first item, I'd like to call up Ms. Edwards from Burbank Water and Power. She's going to provide a brief update on our Stage 3 Sustainable Water Use Ordinance. And after that, I will have Police Chief Albanese to provide an update on Raising Cane's. Ms. Edwards?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Slide will be coming up. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Talamantes and distinguished council members. I am Janine Edwards, Assistant General Manager of Sustainability, Marketing, and Strategy at Burbank Water and Power. I am here to let our community know that on Monday, June 27th, the City of Burbank is moving to Stage 3 of our Sustainable Water Use Ordinance. The slide presented provides an overview of the measures being put in place to reduce Burbank's water use by 15% as compared to 2020 levels. This is a goal set by our governor for the state to assist with California's water management during this time of extreme drought. The most impactful action residents can take is adhering to the outdoor watering schedule, which is now 2 days a week, Tuesday and Saturday, for 15 minutes per irrigation station. Additional measures of Stage 3 include attended hand watering. Landscaping with low flow irrigation like drip systems are exempt from the 15-minute rule, but must be on the 2 watering days. Outdoor cooling devices such as misters are not allowed, and pools must be covered to decrease water evaporation. Burbank Water and Power does provide a $50 bill credit for pool covers with proof of purchase. To learn more, we invite customers to go to our website at burbankwaterandpower.com/drought.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councilmember Spring?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I just have 2. What's low flow?
Low flow is irrigation typically set with drought-tolerant plants. So they are like tubes with little holes, so they have drip systems. So they will still provide plants with water, but just a limited amount. So not like a sprinkler, which just sprays water across the board. Low flow is either drip, but there's also there's the drip, or there's I don't know what we actually call them, but it's a little itty bitty sprinkler that's put right next to a plant that provides like a little flow for them as well. This makes sure that plants do have water, and they are it's pretty much the type of irrigation that we use with drought tolerant.
So that's called a drip system?
There's a drip, and I don't know what the other, it's like a little low flow spraying. Any of you guys
Little
know?
tiny flow.
If you go to any Home Depot, you say, I'm looking for the tiniest little sprinkler that I can put on my plant.
Okay,
And trees, yes.
thank you. And I know, I think at one time on the BWP website, there was something that showed how to deep water a tree.
Oh, yes.
So can we please make sure that's there?
It is there when you scroll down on the website, but I do think it's really important. So we'll bring that up to the banner so that people can understand what deep watering is. And that's especially important right now when we are moving to Stage 3. It is going to be a very hot summer, and we are not, pro killing plants. We want to make sure they live, but there is a way that we can water them to make sure we can conserve water and keep our plants alive.
Thank you, and maybe on other media outlets too.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's all.
Now, you mentioned pool covers.
Yes.
Are you familiar or aware of how much pool covers are?
Yes, it depends on if you install them yourself or if you have somebody install them. So they are they range in price from about $130 to $220 for a standard size, which is 15 by 10 feet. These are bubble covers. They're about 12 millimeters thick, and you place them on top of your pool. They're very easy to cut. They are not so easy to roll up. So that's usually what people don't like about pool covers, is you have to roll them up when you want to use them. But they are available at Leslie's and at Discount Pool Mart. We visited them today. They have information there about Stage 3, as well as the rebate application available for customers there.
And currently the rebate is $50?
It's a $50 bill credit, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Chief, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilmember Springer, Frutos, and Schultz. So 2 weeks ago, I gave you an update on Raising Cane. It was their grand opening, so that would have been June 7th. And if you recall, I was still a tad dizzy from being out there because of how voluminous it was. So I would say that the volume of commerce there continues to grow. The transition has not been seamless. We have had issues with traffic, congestion, parking for employees, parking for patrons, parking for neighbors. There's been complaints of trash in the neighborhood from Raising Cane. And Raising Cane wanted to extend the business hours to midnight, from 10 o'clock to midnight. So let me address some of the issues. David Kresge is here from CDD on the transportation side in the event there's additional questions. So Raising Cane, we talk to them 2 or 3 times a day. They have a community liaison manager that we speak to. I've met with her. I've talked to her a handful of times. In fact, I told her, I presented here and told City Council and told the community that they wanted to be good neighbors. So we are going to be good neighbors moving forward. So on the parking side for employees, which was problematic for the residents, is that Raising Cane has contracted 2 off-site parking for their employees, and they are required to park there. There were a couple outlier employees who were running late who parked in the residential area, which was a policy violation for them. So I believe employee parking has been reconciled. As far as the trash, where you have people, patrons that will visit Raising Cane, then they go to their car, they eat on their car, they eat in the car, and whoever was their parents failed because they would leave their trash there. So Raising Cane has a trash detail. So every night before they close, they send employees up and down the streets and pick up their trash. The expanded hours, as of today, they have declared that they won't increase their hours till midnight. So that's the residents are going to get a little bit of a relief there, and they heard us loud and clear that it would not be embraced. As far as the traffic, the congestion, how it impacts commerce on Olive in the immediate area, it is still problematic. So they have told us that this is symptomology they see all the time with a new business. It takes 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then it calms. The residents are having a tough time with that resonating with them. And we've received emails, phone calls. I know City Council has, staff has, and my staff has, and I've communicated with a number of these folks the last few weeks. So at this point, we're in a wait-and-see mode. I would give it another week or 2. And if it doesn't get better for commerce and traffic, then we're going to have to, the city's going to have to look at a different strategy.
Well, thank you, Chief. Thank you very much for your update.
You got it.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. City Attorney, will you please report on closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. For members of the community, City Council met in closed session this evening to discuss one matter pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. They met with the city's labor negotiator, Ms. Betsy McClinton, to discuss, provide direction with Burbank Firefighters Association. Negotiations with Burbank Firefighters Association. City Council took no reportable action.
Thank you, sir. Now is the time for general public comment. For members of the public who are here in person and wish to speak, please present a completed yellow general public comment card to the city clerk, and any person speaking during general public comment may address the council on any matter concerning city business. Persons may choose to use the first period of public comment to address an agendized report, but will not be able to speak on that item following the segment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. In order to promote fairness, please stay within your maximum allotted time of 3 minutes. A timer is available on the podium to help the speaker keep track of how much time is left. Please state your name for the record. For those wishing to call in during the general public comment period, please call now at 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. Our first speaker is Mr. or Mrs. Schultzman. Mr.
there's enough copies for everybody. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. You know, I hold each of you, you're in a position of trust, and you should have the highest character. Now, I'm not going to talk about the vice mayor's bankruptcy, his name change, or his time in jail, but I am going to talk about him being a liar, a cheater, and a sociopath. If you go to the city's website, you'll see that his claim of autism is easily debunked. It's fake. I talked to his wife for over 11 years. I talked to his family. I talked to his campaign manager, Margot, and they all say the same thing. He made it up. He's self-diagnosed. He has no medical diagnosis of autism, yet he begins every sentence with, "I am an autistic." Furthermore, if you read that statement on the city website, he talks about attending college, and that's false too. He's a college dropout. He didn't pay his bills. He didn't pay his student loans. He named the government trying to get out of his student loans in his bankruptcy, and it's just deceptive. It's a lack of character to try and mislead the public. He is a college dropout. He's a cheater. And he's a cheater because I talked to his stepmother. Her name's Jackie, lives in the Bay Area. She told me she advanced him $500 for his campaign. When I checked his campaign records, his finance disclosure documents, that $500 was not mentioned, and that makes him a cheater. Now, I've given you folks a letter that he wrote, an email, and I know you don't have time to read it now, but when you do, you'll find out his true character. I've asked the city clerk to make it a matter of record, and he refers to himself in that letter as a deceptive sociopath, and it's troubling. Now, if I'll slow down because I got a little extra time here. Within that letter that he wrote to his wife, he admits to cheating with her on 2 women on the same night and then blames the wife for it. And that, of course, it's his personal business, but it goes to his character. And there's a number of other things in there where he's just out and out lying, and if you read the dates on it, it's easy to put 2 and 2 together. And you know, I wonder, a person with this scorecard and this background, if you should be nominating him to be advanced to lead the city as mayor. It's very troubling to me, and I wonder about what's coming for our future with this person as in the leadership position. And if you want to give me another minute or two, I'll play you a recording where his wife accuses him, is concerned about him having relations with a 17-year-old boy. And that's also very troubling to me. So it's up to you if you want to give me a little more time, and I'll play you that recording.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the letters when it came to us?
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I have 4 copies. We will make additional copies and make them available to everyone.
Great, thank you very much. Next speaker is Janet Deal. Welcome.
It's nice to be in person and in public. Hi, I'm Janet Deal. Thank you very much for the ears. Thank you for the closed captioning. Things that the City Council is moving forward with, we really, really appreciate. The Burbank Advisory Council on Disabilities, which I'm very active with, is so appreciative. However, the curb cuts on Chandler are still not directional, keeping people going along the side of Chandler. They are fan-shaped, leading traffic directly into the lane of traffic, moving traffic, and the curbs. There's no cut through. At intersections, that makes sense. It does not make sense on side streets, like mine at Rose. As far as the Rose Float, we use recycled water, folks. We are the first float in the parade to be using recycled water, and we're extremely proud of that. So that's something that you need to know. And Paula Ohan was here, and she is the liaison for the city with Parks and Rec that I work with directly, and I wanted to say a special shout out for her. Okay, Leila Ramirez was not just a woman. She was a force to be reckoned with in this city, and it was my privilege to know her and work with her for many, many years through the Burbank Human Relations Council, PTA, Burbank Coordinating Council, and it could go on and on forever. Amazing woman, amazing woman. And I have one last thing. Henry Deal, my husband, was on the senior board, active with the Burbank Advisory Council on Disabilities, Burbank Coordinating Council, BACOD, the Advisory Council on Disabilities for over 30 years, Girl Scouts, Job's Daughters, you name it, he was there. He was a bike angel for many, many years, and spent a lot of his evenings outside fixing bikes. So it was like, come on in, have a meal. That would be a great thing. He passed away during COVID in the beginning, and military funerals were closed down for the National Cemetery. His funeral will be on July 15th, Friday, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is exactly 30 minutes, 2 to 2:30, and we will leave the National Cemetery in Los Angeles, come back to the VFW here on Magnolia until 6 o'clock. Please come. Anyone is welcome to just share memories and share time together, and I think that would be very meaningful for him and for our family. Thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing that information. Next speaker, Linda Besson, followed by Tamala Takahashi.
Good evening, Mayor Talamantes and council members. I have questions. These are questions that many in the community are asking. When a new gun store opens in Burbank, does community development require a plan for customer parking and customer traffic? How do we keep the surrounding residents from being impacted in the same way we require this of other retail establishments? How are customers monitored when they exit the building with the firearms and ammunition that they've purchased? How do we prevent people from violating open carry laws? How are we as a city currently enforcing these regulations that all buyers must be 21 years old, that waiting period and red flag laws are followed? How are we enforcing the limit on ammunition purchases? How are the weapons being registered? Are we requiring any training or insurance? Are the 14 gun stores in Burbank selling AR-15s and other military-grade weapons? If so, what is the protocol for exiting the building with these? Can they be required to be in a locked case as they leave the building? Can you ensure that they are not loaded when they leave the building? What can we do to ensure no one causes harm to nearby children or anyone once they leave the building? How do gun shop owners prevent people who are intoxicated or under the influence, or someone who is clearly having mental health issues or even a mental health crisis, from leaving the store with weapons that are being picked up after the waiting period? Is there an age limit to enter the store, and are the stores checking the age of buyers? Gun World has the audacity to tweet out this message that we are part of the Burbank community, we are your neighbors, we have deep roots in Burbank and care greatly about the safety of our staff in the city. But even with these deep roots, they told a local TV station that they did not know how close Roosevelt Elementary is to their new location. They have not answered residents who've tried to talk to them about their concerns. They see their neighbors in tears at city council meeting, and what is their response? They tweet about the grand opening giveaways of gun accessories for, quote, fast target acquisition, low light shooting, and long range engagements. Has anyone from city staff contacted the owner of Gun World to facilitate discussion of the concerns of hundreds of residents? Are we just shrugging our shoulders and not caring about the parents and children and residents of all these people who are speaking out? Yes, work is being done in regard to the laws and ordinances and all of that. But what is the city doing now with this massive megastore opening to reassure Burbank that we are safe? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tamala Takahashi, followed by Adrianos Facchetti. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Tamala Takahashi, 23-year resident of Burbank. Tonight, I am commenting in regards to item M12 on the consent agenda. I fully support this letter and agree that the state and local agencies need to work together on the important issue of gun violence. I also want to encourage council to reach out to neighboring jurisdictions to put together a regional plan to have a consistent local ordinances around the sale and storage of guns. It will be much more effective and enforceable if local ordinances are aligned. Also, my friend Lisa emailed you all about this book, Aftermath. It's a story of a 12-year-old who moves to a city and joins a class where there are survivors of her school shooting in her classroom. This is a story of what happens after the news crews are no longer there for the children. This explores the grief and trauma recovery and interweaves them into a beautiful story of friendship and community. Lisa tells me, I think, that Bob was going to get the first go at this book, so I'll hand it to you when I'm done. Mass shootings are just a fraction of gun deaths in children, however. Studies have shown that 1 out of 3 homes with kids have guns. And approximately 1 in 3 of those guns is kept loaded and unlocked. Most parents who own guns don't think their child knows where it is stored, yet studies also show that nearly half of children know exactly where the gun is, and nearly 40% say they have taken it out and played with it without their parents knowing. Whether one agrees with gun ownership or not, it is clear that we need to make sure that children are safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods, in their schools, in their parks. We need to change the fact that guns kill more children than any other means. It is our responsibility as the adults to keep our children safe. And since I have a couple minutes, I wanted to also just briefly comment on yesterday, Juneteenth. Yesterday was a federally observed holiday, as you all know, and it was not observed in Burbank. Our city has made a proclamation that we recognize Juneteenth, we recognize that we are a sundown town, and that we support DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. If I recall correctly, part of that recognition was to observe the federal holiday of Juneteenth. So this is disappointing that we did not observe that holiday yesterday, but I'm hoping that it will be resolved for next year's observance for this important holiday. So thank you for your time and consideration, and have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Next speaker is Adrianos Facchetti. That's the last card I have. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Talamantes and council members and staff. My name is Adrianos Facchetti, and I've applied for the vacancy for the Transportation Commission position. Let me tell you, I'm the luckiest guy here. Let me just share a story with you. When I was about 3 days old, my mom was put in the impossible position of making a decision as to whether she could raise me or not. And so, unfortunately, she didn't have the financial wherewithal, and so she was forced to give me up. And I was about to go in the foster care system when something amazing happened. A loving family, Argentinian and Brazilian family, that lived in Burbank decided that they would choose me and they would adopt me. And that decision changed the entire trajectory of my life. Because of that one decision, I got a chance to live in Burbank and get a first-class education. I went to Emerson, I went to John Muir, I went to Burbank High, and because of that education, I was able to go to UCLA, where I got a BA in history with departmental honors. I was able to then go to law school at Pepperdine, where I was the president of our Honor Society and a member of the Dispute Resolution Journal. And then after that, I decided that I'd open up my own shop. My dad had a electronics business at the old Golden Mall, and my brother used to own La Bamba before he moved, and so it's in our blood. So I opened up my own business, my own law firm, and so I've been doing that for the last 15 years, and during that time, I've basically been a personal injury lawyer, and I've been helping people who have been the victims of accidents, traffic accidents specifically. And during that time, I've actually analyzed personally over 1,000 accidents. And I've worked with everything to a simple rear-end collision to a complicated chain reaction situation involving 33 commercial vehicles. I've dealt with countless traffic engineers with road design defects, Any kind of defect or traffic safety issue, you name it, I've seen it. And what I've focused on in my career are two things. What caused an accident, and what can we do to prevent that accident? And so during that time, I've gained a certain amount of experience that I think makes me uniquely qualified as compared to the people who, not as compared to, but in addition to some of the members that are on the commission. And so I think that I would be able to make a positive contribution on the commission. And the reason why I'm here, it's simple. I love Burbank. I've been here my whole life. I'm one of those lifers that you hear about that you guys shake hands with every weekend. I'm one of those. And I have kids here. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I have a 2-year-old son, and I want to make it safe for my family and my friends. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you. We have completed in-person public comment. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any callers online for public comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do, and we're ready to go.
Bring them on.
Our first caller is Jason Bennett.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. It's good to have the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I'm just calling in support of my application for the Transportation Commission. Council members, I think we all understand that Burbank needs to be easier to get around if you don't necessarily want to drive. I live in Magnolia Park, right at Myers and Magnolia, and I sometimes like to go downtown for dinner. And frankly, that's a real hassle. I don't necessarily want to drive for a mile, park in a parking garage, and then walk almost as far from the garage as I would from my house. But if I want to walk down Magnolia or bike, frankly, it's dangerous trying to get across the freeway and the railroad tracks on that bridge, and the sidewalk is often narrow and uneven. Council members, we need to have better bus service in Burbank that is focused on Burbank and how to get around. I know that the Commission is currently considering revamping the Green Line. I think that's a great start, but having more lines on Magnolia, on Buena Vista, on Hollywood Way, I think would go a long way towards helping our residents get around the city without having to drive 1 mile and one parking lot at a time. We need more bike lanes and protected bike lanes. I used to work up by the airport, and I looked into trying to bike to work at that time. But between having to ride across Buena Vista at an unprotected intersection and having to ride up Hollywood Way, where cars are speeding past me at 60 miles an hour, my wife was very clear with me that that would be a bad idea for many reasons. And I decided to drive and take up another parking space instead. Council members, again, I know that the Commission has been considering expanding, protecting our bike lanes. We need more roads like Verdugo that are calmer, quieter, good for biking, and where we can additionally protect our bike lanes to give people a reason to bike instead of all kinds of reasons and fears about not to bike. Council members, we just need to make it easier to get around Burbank, whether it's walking, biking, or taking a shuttle, so we don't have to drive all the time, we don't have to use expensive gas all the time, and we can protect our climate. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next caller is Stephen Bagumian.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening, esteemed Burbank City Council members. My name is Steve Bagumian. I've been a Burbank resident since 1998. I've served on the Burbank Civil Service Board in 2018. I've been on the Building and Fire Code Appeals Board since 2019, eventually being appointed to the Vice Chair. Proud Burbank High School graduate. And really, I think my skill set as an attorney, as an arbitrator, as a mediator, working with land use and zoning questions, working with startup-based technology companies all make me a good fit for the Transportation Commission. And I think mostly just my desire to serve the community is what really drives me to want to be on the Transportation Commission. So I want to thank the council for considering my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next caller is Paulette Emerson.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Mayor and Burbank City Council. My name is Paulette Emerson, and I grew up in Burbank and Glendale, and moved out when I was an adult. And we were fortunate enough that in July we were able to move back and buy our home, a brand new home in July, and it's great to be back in Burbank. And I'm calling because I have a great concern about the number of gun stores in Burbank, and especially right across the street from a place where my daughter goes to a dance school. And this is the one, it's called Gari Dance School on Magnolia, which is right across the street from the soon-to-be-open Gun World. And I'm calling because it's rather concerning that, you know, we as a city have decided to not have liquor stores or strip clubs or marijuana dispensaries in areas with high traffic and in areas where lots of children gather around schools, around dance schools, etc., because we know of the negative effects that come with it. We try to protect our children from those who may be visiting those establishments. And yet, when it comes to a massive gun store, we have, it seems, to have taken absolutely no consideration whatsoever that there is a place just across the street where 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 10-year-olds gather. And I am rather surprised to see that there has been little resistance to this gun store. So I just wanted to voice my concern that we do a lot to protect our children, but it just doesn't seem like when it comes to guns, we are doing much of anything. We are saying that, you know, that we are assuming that all the people who will be shopping at this gun store are these good guys with guns. But are we also then saying that the people who visit liquor stores are not good people? Are we saying those that go to medical marijuana dispensaries are not good people, and those that go to strip clubs are not good people? Because we have rules and regulations on how far they can be from areas of where children are. But we are automatically giving a pass to those that want to purchase AR-15s and other high-capacity guns. And so I would really like the city of Burbank to reconsider and revisit any sort of legislation that deals with prohibiting gun stores being so close to areas, any areas where such
Your
a
time
high
has
number
run
of
up.
children.
Your time has run up. Thank you very much. Any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor, that was our last caller, so we're going to go ahead and close the lines. Thank you.
Okay. So there being no further speakers, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment at this time. Now is the time for a brief response from City Council, City Manager, and/or the City Attorney. Colleagues, any response to any? Councilmember Schultz?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to everyone who showed up tonight in person to give comment, and to everyone who called in. With regards to the first speaker, I was troubled, not necessarily by the nature of the personal attacks against a colleague, nor even by the fact that he's not here to defend himself, but I guess what troubles me and what I implore the community is that we have to get back to a point where our politics is not personal. Where we're here to talk about the issues, we have to be better. And the vitriol and the animosity that we see in D.C. cannot play out in this chamber. We have to be better than that. Ms. Steele, with regards to your comment, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your husband with all of us. You two have been just incredible cornerstones of our community, and you have given so much. And speaking as a young Burbanker myself, you really set a model for how I can give back to my community. So thank you both for everything you did. Ms. Besson, I tried to write down your questions as much as I could. You had a lot in there. If you could email them to me, I'd love to share that with the city team that's working on that and try to get you some answers. With regards, Mr. City Manager, there was a comment from Ms. Takahashi about yesterday's Juneteenth. Would you care to address that just briefly?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, there is definitely not an unwillingness to do it. It's more of a resource issue. So Management Services Department is working on this. As you know, they have their hands full with COVID safety protocols, recruitments, labor groups, labor negotiations. So this, there's a lot going on. So we just weren't able to get to this issue. And it's not just as simple as doing a holiday. There's costs associated with it. There's operational issues that we need to work out through the different unions. So Management Services has been working with the different departments. We're almost there. I could tell you that I did talk to Ms. McClinton today, and we're looking at the end of summer to bring something back to you so we solidify that. We did do the proclamation, which we were proud of, but clearly we just there's a lot on our plate, and we're planning to make it happen for next year.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. The last comment I had, Mr. Mayor, is I just wanted to wish all of the candidates for the Transportation Commission good luck. A lot of excellent qualified candidates.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody who is here in person and the people who called in. And good luck to the Transportation Commission candidates. And Mr. McDougall, can you respond to the gun store issue, like with Gun World generally?
Sure. I mean, the council will be receiving a comprehensive second step report on July the 26th is the current scheduled date for that. And there are staff from multiple departments working very diligently to bring that to you. With regard to Gun World, they have an existing license. The city does not currently regulate the land use, as will be detailed in the report that comes to you on the 26th. Actually, as the report detailed on February 8th that came before the council, the city currently regulates gun retailers on a business permit. They already have that business permit. They're transferring it from one location to another. The Building and Safety Department has required that they apply for and receive the building permits for their tenant space because they're currently regulated as a retail use, and they'll have to comply with the code for that. But the city does not presently have any other regulations that apply to them different than any other retail use.
Thank you.
Councilmember Frutos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come to the council meeting. And to Ms. Besson, a lot of the questions that you've asked, I've actually asked, but I was advised by the city manager and the city attorney that my questions regarding pretty much what you asked a lot would be coming back through the chief and CDD at a public meeting forward. But I am concerned just like you are. But thank you for bringing it up. And I will be attending the services, Ms. Steele. I will be there for the family. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here this evening.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank everybody that came in person as well as over the phone. A lot of great questions, a lot of food for thought as well. So we'll just move forward. We have the report coming at the end of July, so that'll be very important to listen to and to just digest and see what our options are moving forward. And he's gone moving forward, tell me I can't talk anymore about it. But the same questions, obviously the same concerns that we've already discussed with the city manager, that his staff is taking it, preparing for the report along with the city attorney. Ms. Steele, I haven't looked at my calendar, but if I'm available, I'll be there as well. So thank you very much, everybody. And the candidates that are applied for transportation, very qualified candidates. Every year when we go through the boards and commissions appointments, there's a lot of qualified, we have to make a decision. Sometimes you get to appoint one, maybe two, but nonetheless, I always encourage everybody that doesn't get appointed to look and see on the city clerk's website. There's always something that if you're interested in that particular board or commission, please apply and come back. So thank you very much, everybody. So the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. Madam City Clerk, please read the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Consent calendar, item number 1, adoption of an ordinance amending Burbank Municipal Code Title 10, Chapter 1, Article 22, related to community facility fees, project number 22-000-2020, and adoption of a resolution amending fiscal year 2022 and 2023 citywide fee schedule. Item number 2, City Council minutes. Adopt council minutes for June 7 and the dark meeting for June 14. Successor agency minutes to approve the minutes for joint meeting of May 24th. Housing minutes, approve the meeting minutes for June 7th. Parking authority minutes, approve the meeting minutes for May 24th. And parking authority minutes, approve the minutes for December 7th and December 14, 2021. Youth endowment minutes, and those are for the joint meeting of December 7th and December 14, 2021. Item 8, approval of 5-year Web Trader service agreement with Open Access Technology International, Inc. for software applications to coordinate and record electrical energy transactions. Item 8, update of extending the local emergency caused by COVID-19. Item 10, adoption of a resolution approving contract documents and awarding construction contract for bid schedule number 1484, landfill gas collection and control system expansion 2021 to BSE General Engineering, Inc. Item 11, adoption of a resolution approving contract documents and awarding a multi-year price agreement to Parkwood Landscape Maintenance, Inc. for price agreement number 2227, Citywide Links Landscape Maintenance. Item number 12, approval of letter to United States Congress supporting stronger gun control laws. And that concludes all the items on the consent calendar.
Thank you. Councilmember Frutos?
If it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, motion to move consent forward.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second. May I ask just a question, not discussion, just a question on number 12? Okay.
And I've got a question on number 10 as well. Oh, just a question real quick. I'm sure real quick turns out to be half an hour sometimes. No, the thing that on number 10, adoption of a resolution approving contract occupants and awarding a construction contract bid, landfill gas collection control system expansion under the Public Works Department. And I see Mr. Berkman is here. The thing that jumped out at me as I was reading the report is the bid. The spread in the dollars of the bid. The lowest bid was $382,000, and the highest bid was $849,000. Did we dot our I's and cross our T's? Are we not forgetting something? Anyway, welcome.
Yes. Honorable Mayor, Council members, Ken Berkman, Public Works Director, thank you for the question. It's a poignant question because that is something that comes up from time to time with all the public contract and projects that we do. It's a public process. We comply with public contract code and the city code, and we have to accept the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And all the plans and specs and estimates are prepared by licensed, state licensed professionals, as our staff who review them as well. And those packages are put out to bid for independent bids by qualified contractors. In this case, to do our landfill gas well expansion project. The unknowns that we have that they are dealing with are the same that we are dealing with now for commodity prices, from gasoline to staffing and everything else that they have to do to price into their work. I would like to point out, for example, we have I think the largest annual residential paving contract going on right now, and they're doing really well, but that bid ranged in the millions, and we were at, I think, 7.7 million to about 11.3. So these the variations of the bid are common. I understand the spread is significant, but in these two examples, I'd like to point out the engineer's estimate was $400,000. So the good news of this low bid, be it 20,000 under the engineer's estimate, that is a very, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's a good sign of the accuracy of the work that staff did compared to the work that the contractor field bid on. So we don't know what can happen in the field. We are going underground, but we do have the contingency, as we do with all of our projects. So it is something we definitely keep an eye out in the field and make sure we control our costs at all times.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd hate to see any change orders along the way, and all of a sudden it increases way beyond the top bid.
Understood.
Anyway, thank you very much for that. Any questions there?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, not a question for you, Mr. Berkman. I'm good on number 10. I had a question, I think it'd be for the city manager on
So are
number
we
12.
going to number 12 now?
Yes, if that's all right with you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. City Manager, I know why, so I wanted to talk about a comment that I believe we all received from a parent in the community who was wondering why the letter didn't include anything about funding for schools or training for security. I know why that wouldn't be in the letter, because we're trying to send out a standardized one, much like other cities around the country. My question to you is, we do have our upcoming joint meeting with BUSD. Is this a topic, or maybe related to a topic, that we might be discussing at that time?
Absolutely it's one of the topics. So school safety is a topic. Yeah, so you could certainly add something at this point, but certainly I think it might be wise to have that discussion with the joint school board and council, and maybe you could come up with even something a little bit more tailored to
Yeah,
our
just for your
needs.
information, the city manager and I had discussed the agenda for that meeting. School safety is definitely
Perfect.
right there on top.
And that'll be July 19th, if I recall correctly, 6
Correct.
PM?
Correct.
Excellent, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Springer?
Yes, thank you. I think we all had that discussion with you. And thank you for bringing this item back so quickly and putting it on the agenda, item 12. And so I had thought about adding like bullet point 10, but because the letter is it going out and we can't recall the letter, I mean, something general, could we add about, I mean, once we send it, the letter is sent, it's mailed, right? And this is what I came up with: provide funding and other resources to maximize school protection so that students are 100% safe. So it's pretty general, but I mean, I can wait for that discussion, but my concern is that the letter will be sent, and then we haven't said anything about student protection.
You know, I'd like to have that discussion with the school board, and possibly if we do send them, if we send a letter, have the school board and the city council signature.
Are we
Yeah,
going
we're
to
too
need
far.
to
Yeah,
bump
we're
it?
not, okay.
Well, so it's council procedure, but your procedure is if you're going to have lengthy discussion, you can pull the item and discuss it and modify the letter at the end of this agenda, if you so wish.
But I just wanted to add bullet point 10.
We could certainly add a general bullet and then do something else later. But yeah, once you adopt this, we will send that letter. So whether it has bullet 10 or not. So if you want to suggest it right now, and the council could decide, we could bump it as well and talk about it a little bit more. It's up to the pleasure of the council. We're very comfortable having a general bullet now, and then maybe doing something later. We're fine, not including it. It's really preference of the council.
Okay, colleagues, any other questions, or are we through? We're going to the consent calendar right now?
I have a comment on item 11. And because we're moving away from Stay Green, and the city is moving forward towards more native, drought-tolerant landscape. And so will Parkwood, are they committed to our sustainability focus and also our move towards more native, drought-tolerant? Are they competent
Move it
to
to the
plant and move forward?
Yeah, well, through the mayor, thank you for the question, Councilmember Springer. The answer is yes. So we have a 30 thorough and comprehensive scope of work that was with this procurement, and every state and local regulation and rule has to be followed. Those can be changed as we go through the course of the contract, and this is the cool thing about this contract. I think we got great value going from basically a one-year contract plus 4 amendments to a 3-year contract and 2 annual extensions. And when rules and regulations and desires through the council change, we can modify that contract. It could be a change to a contract could result in a change in cost because it's not part of the contract they sign. But absolutely, the things that the city wants to do, our contractors have to do by our contract. And of course, if they fail to provide the services that we expect, there's a termination clause in there. We don't want to go there, but it is there, but they have to do what we want them to do.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Mr. City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, with regard to item number 12 and the current motion to approve the consent, if the mover and the second are in agreement, the motion could simply be amended to move approval of the consent agenda with the addition of a bullet item number 10 on agenda item number 12 to increase federal funding for school safety.
So, motion, the maker and the second?
I'm comfortable with it.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Likewise.
And we'll still talk about it on the 19th.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would just
yeah.
hate for our letter to go out without that in there.
Madam City Clerk? It's all clear?
Got it. Councilmember Frutos?
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes.
And Mayor Talamantes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have 4 reports to council this evening. After staff's presentation, the city council will proceed with in-person public comment only for each item. Please fill out a yellow card for public comment and hand it to the city clerk. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak on the item at the conclusion of the presentation, as long as the speaker has not spoken on the item during the first period of public comment. The first report is the approval of the 2022 City of Burbank Investment Policy. Mrs. Crystal Palmer, City Treasurer, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Talamantes, Councilmember Frutos, Councilmember Springer, Councilmember Schultz, and my fellow Burbank residents. Happy first day of summer, by the way. My name is Crystal Palmer, and I'm your City Treasurer. Tonight, I'm here to present the proposed 2022 investment policy. This policy has been reviewed by both the Treasurer's Oversight Review Committee and the Fiscal and Treasurer's Review Group. I just wanted to mention the names of the members of these committees, as they have been really helpful in providing advice over the past few years. On the Fiscal and Treasurer's Review Group, we have Councilmember Bob Frutos, Councilmember Nick Schultz, City Manager Justin Hess, Assistant City Manager Judy Wilkie, Financial Services Director Jennifer Becker, and BWP CFO Bob Liu. On the Treasurer's Oversight Review Committee, we have Darren Guggenheimer, CEO of Gain Federal Credit Union, Norlin Carras, former CEO of Cedars-Sinai Federal Credit Union, Richard Martin, CPA, Scott Reif, retired Senior Vice President of Boston Private Bank and Trust, and David Escobar, First Vice President of UBS Financial Services. As you recall, last year, changes to the investment policy included the addition of ESG, or Environmental, Social, and Governance Guidelines, a first in Burbank's history, as well as increasing our maximum allocation and minimum ratings guidelines for municipal bond purchases. Tonight, we will see few changes as improvements we have made last year have already positioned us well, especially in this current market environment. There were also no approved changes to the local agency investment-related codes during the state's 2021 legislative session. Therefore, aside from date, name, and other minor edits, there are only 3 proposed changes to the policy this year. First, on page 6, section I, State and Local Agency Obligations, we added language from the state code clarifying that out-of-state municipal bonds may include bonds payable solely out of the revenues from a revenue-producing property owned, controlled, or operated by a state or by a department, board, agency, or authority of any of the other 49 states. This is something we've always done, and this is just a formality to make sure that our brokers understand the bonds that we are allowed to purchase. On page 16, Exhibit A, Liquidity. The liquidity calculation was updated to reflect the numbers from our 21 to 22 budget. Liquidity is defined in the investment policy as 8 weeks of annual appropriations less purchase power. With that, the necessary liquidity for 2022 is calculated at $101 million, an increase from $96 million in 2021. This increase can be mostly attributed to an increase in our municipal infrastructure and BWP electric and water funds. And finally, on page 18, Exhibit C, on our list of qualified brokers from which the city may purchase investments, one of our current brokers, Kevin Webb, recently changed firms, switching from Piper Jaffray to Robert Baird. With this move, he completed an updated broker-dealer questionnaire from the city of Burbank. He also submitted his firm's financial statements, which were reviewed by our office. Given his extensive industry knowledge and experience, we recommend that we retain Mr. Webb's services. In conclusion, the 2022 investment policy as proposed is in compliance with the current state statutes governing the investment practices of local government entities located within the state of California. These are all the changes I have, and I look forward to your input.
You know, Mr. Mayor, because I'm not speaking for my colleague, but because we both sit on it, most of my questions for this agenda item this evening, since I'm on that audit committee, have already been answered. And I did rake her over the coals, but she did a good job, and I give a stamp of approval, sir, so no comments from me.
No, Mr. Mayor, we don't.
Yeah, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
I'll just add one thing, Ms. Palmer. We're really lucky to have you as our city treasurer, and I'm really proud of last year when we updated the policy to include the environmental, social, and governance responsibilities. So great work under your watch, and I know you're just getting started.
No, thank you.
Motion? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022 investment policy as proposed.
I'll second.
Councilmember Frutos?
Yes.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Mayor Talamantes? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next report is a review of the city treasurer's investment portfolio report for March 31st, 2022. And Ms. Crystal Palmer, our city treasurer, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Now I will be going over the Treasurer's report for March 2022. Like the investment policy, this report was also discussed by both the Treasurer's Oversight Review Committee and the Fiscal and Treasurer's Review Group. First, I will be going over the portfolio overview, followed by economic conditions, and finally the outlook and strategy for the portfolio. This slide shows the historical market value of our portfolio. It currently stands at $504 million. As you can see in the graph, this has increased significantly just in the past few months. This graph also highlights the CalPERS payments we've been making in July of every year, which saves us on our pension costs. Next month, for instance, we're paying $45 million as part of that program. This slide shows how our portfolio is broken down by asset class. The biggest chunk is currently at LAIF at 42%, followed by U.S. agencies at 29%, corporate medium-term notes at 26%, followed by municipal bonds at 9%, supranationals at 4%, and both treasuries and CDs at 3%. This graph shows how we are in compliance with the California State Code and our own investment policy. So this shows the maturity range of the portfolio. Currently, it's about 2.26 years with LAIF and 3.07 years without LAIF. As you can see, we've made significant investments in the 4 to 5 maturity range. This is because as rates have gone up, we've really taken the opportunity to lock in these higher yields. However, at the same time, we still have a lot of liquidity, as you can see in the 0 to 1 year maturity. This will allow us to continue to take advantage of rates as they continue to go up this year. This shows how our yield was able to weather the volatility we saw in the past few years and maintain returns even as rates have dropped. So our portfolio yield is that blue line. At the same time, our strategic allocation has now allowed us to take advantage of rising rates. Our yield in March, for instance, was at 1.51% and continues to rise. The latest number is now showing 1.66% in April. This shows our income summary from the coupons we receive on a regular basis. Again, this has increased significantly in the past few months, and we received $651,000 in March this year. With the addition of our ESG policy last year, I just wanted to highlight one of the bonds we purchased under that program. So this bond is from the California Health Facilities Financing Authority's No Place Like Home program. What's interesting about this program is it's the first large municipal bond program created to invest in homeless housing infrastructure. How it works is that bond proceeds fund the development of permanent housing for persons who are at risk of homelessness or in need of mental health services. The bond payments are then secured by taxes on high-income residents here in our state, which we know there are a lot of them. As of today, the City of Burbank has invested $3.9 million in total in this program, with the latest purchase receiving a 3.62% yield. So one issue that employers continue to grapple with is a lack of workers. As you can see here, despite a low 3.6% unemployment rate, the labor force participation rate shows that the economy is still missing around 3 million workers. So there are really two reasons for this. One is demographics. We have an aging population, and older workers were more likely to retire and drop out of the workforce in the past few years. The second is really the change in expectations of what people are looking for in work. People want flexibility, meaningful work, and they're really taking their time to look for that perfect fit. So given that there are 3 million people not working, one thing we're all wondering is how are these people getting income, especially with high prices nowadays? So the answer is people were really able to save a lot during the pandemic. However, as people deplete their savings and as their investments further decrease, I think we're going to see a lot more people going back to work. So the other side of the story is that even as wages have increased significantly, inflation has canceled out much of the gains. What's even worse is that, according to the Labor Department, they're estimating about $163 billion were lost in unemployment-related overpayments due to a significant portion of which due to fraud. Again, this was during the pandemic, and a lot of states were paying out unemployment just based on people's self-reported information and not really verifying whether this is true or not. So some states have actually tried to recover these overpayments, but so far they've only gotten a very small portion back. Bad for taxpayers because some states have already had to issue additional bonds just to pay for these claims. Another important factor, as I mentioned, that impacts the job market is how much people have in savings. Because of stimulus payments, child tax credit payments, and lockdowns, people were able to save significantly during the pandemic. This chart shows how the pandemic has really helped a lot of people. This is showing that as of the end of 2021, most people had about 35 to 65% more savings than they had pre-pandemic. However, this is starting to erode, and more recently, JP Morgan estimated that based on people's bank balances, people only have about 6 to 9 months of spending power left. People have already started to cut back on goods, but consumer spending on services has still been strong, particularly on travel and eating out. However, as people draw down their the savings rate has actually hit a 14-year low as of April. Based on a recent Fidelity survey, 45% of people aged 18 to 35 said that they don't see a point in saving until things return to normal. So as we know, what's really hurt consumers this year is inflation. We really saw it started to increase beginning in spring last year with supply chain issues and the beginning of revenge spending. A lot of economists have hoped that if we've already reached a peak this past April, but unfortunately the May number came out much higher than expected at 8.6%. What's even worse is that this is now being measured against higher price increases last year. So the primary drivers of inflation are energy, food, shelter, and airfare. A recent survey shows that inflation is now the top concern for Americans compared to any other issue that the country faces currently. And the thing is, inflation is not just limited to the US. It is now spread around the world, especially with the war in Ukraine. The UK's inflation is at 9% and the Eurozone is at 8.1%. So there's no way of avoiding it. So as I mentioned, one of the main drivers of inflation recently is the war in Ukraine. The largest increases in commodities have really been in commodities where Russia and Ukraine are key exporters. The prices for most major commodities are thought to have peaked already in 2022. However, they are expected to remain much higher until at least 2024. So the question is, how long will this last? Well, it really depends on how long the war in Ukraine lasts and the severity of the disruptions to commodity flow. So no one can tell. I just wanted to focus on gas prices on the right side of the page there, just because it really impacts our community, not only directly at the pump, but also with a trickle-down effect, as transportation costs have led to significant increase in goods and services. So as you can see in the graph, the increase in crude oil prices is the single biggest driver of gas prices. What's interesting is the US is actually the world's largest producer of oil, but we still import oil because American refineries are often set up to process a different type of oil from what we produce. The problem is it's very difficult and expensive to reconfigure refineries to process the oil that we produce here in the US. So Russia comes in. Russia is the second largest producer of oil in the world, and last year about 8% of our crude oil imports came from Russia. However, with sanctions, that supply has really decreased. And as we know, gas prices have increased. Average gas price in the LA region is now at $6.42 a gallon. So why don't producers just produce more oil? Well, there's two reasons. It takes a long time to ramp up production, and by the time they ramp up production, prices might begin to fall. And the second reason is that they're afraid of making that long-term investment, especially as we all decided to really make a commitment to cleaner energy. So we'll see what happens. Let's look at the housing market. So with the rise of rates, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate currently stands at 5.9%, the highest since 2008. However, demand is weakening as prices have become more unaffordable for people and home buyers are getting priced out of the market. However, any remaining buyer right now are rushing to lock in that mortgage rate before it increases further. So the average, with the rise in mortgage rates, the average mortgage payment in the US is now at $2,500, up 49% from last year when mortgage rates were at 2.9%. Burbank median sale price is now at $1.16 million. The upside is we're starting to see more price reductions and fewer bidding wars. So the big question is, are we in a recession? According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, recession is defined as a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and that lasts more than a few months. It looks at factors such as GDP, unemployment, household income, consumer spending, retail sales, and industrial production. The problem is it's really hard to tell at the moment whether you're in a recession or not, and it takes several months of evidence from data before one is declared. In a recent Wall Street Journal survey, economists have said that the recession probability is about 44% in the next 12 months. They believe that high inflation, increasing interest rates, and lower stock prices will further erode consumer spending power and hurt business investments. Even as asset prices fall, though, as you can see here, where the S&P is down 23% from its all-time high in January, it is not necessary. A bear market does not necessarily mean there is a recession. Given economic indicators right now where the job market and consumer spending are still pretty strong, most economists believe that a recession, if it does happen, will not happen until early next year. What about stagflation? So we've heard that word get thrown around. Stagflation is actually the worst of all worlds, where there's high inflation even as growth slows and unemployment rises. Last time this happened was in the 1970s with the oil embargo. Oil prices contributed to high inflation even as unemployment increased. Well, do we know if this is going to happen? We don't know. Otherwise, we would all be rich, right? So the answer really depends on where we go with inflation in the next few months. So as we know, in just the past few months, yields have significantly increased as the Fed has vowed to restore price stability with its 2% inflation objective. Just for reference, we're at 8.6% inflation, as I mentioned. So we still have a long way to go to that goal. So to reach that goal, just last week, the Fed raised rates by 75 basis points, which is the largest increase since 1994. This is on top of the 25 basis point increase in March and the 50 basis point increase in May. In addition, the market is pricing in at least another 8 hikes of 25 basis points this year. In its meeting last week, the Fed said that it expects its target rate to end 2022 at 3.4% and peak at 3.8% by the end of 2023. Of course, things could change depending on what happens in the next several months, how inflation behaves, and whether we see any major economic downturns. This is the IMF's World Economic Outlook. So global growth is now projected to slow from 6.1% in 2021 to 3.6% both in 2022 and 2023. Inflation is spreading around the world as the war in Ukraine has impacted food and energy prices not only in developed countries but also in developing countries. With China's zero-COVID strategy, lockdowns have also impacted supply as production has been impacted. Tighter monetary policy around the world is also expected to curb economic growth. So given the economic uncertainty, we go back to our investment policy where, as you recall, safety of principal is the foremost objective. With that, to ensure that there's no loss of principal, we continue to monitor the current holdings and conduct due diligence when making purchases. This is to avoid both credit risk and minimize market risk. Liquidity is our second principle, and we continue to maintain adequate cash levels so we can both ladder our portfolio and have regular maturities to meet our cash flow needs. Another reason is to be able to have enough cash to take advantage of these rising rates. Finally, our third principle is yield. Rates continue to fluctuate, and we continue to take advantage of opportunities in terms of rate spikes to make our purchases. Last week, for example, I was on the phone, and in just a span of 30 minutes, we saw rates spike 10 basis points. So I took that as an opportunity to quickly buy and lock in those longer treasury yields. So it's things like that we continue to do, and that's all I have.
Well, there's plenty. Thank you very much. A lot of food for thought and a lot of vision involved here.
Thank
So
you.
if you have that crystal ball, can you call me first before you talk to anybody?
I will let you know.
Perfect. Is there any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions, comments? No? Well, thank you very much. Councilmember Springer?
Yes, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
And I sometimes speculate on how it could have been done differently in our economy with, the stimulus and how, any thoughts on how we maybe inflation wouldn't be so bad if we would have done at the federal level, at the Fed level.
There was actually a study I was reading recently that said about half of the inflation really stemmed from the stimulus payments. And I think about half of it is now coming from the war in Ukraine and the lockdown. So if it was just about stimulus payments, then inflation would just be in the US and in countries that really gave out a lot of stimulus payments, right? But now we're seeing that inflation is spread around the world. So I think it's partially the answer, but it's not the complete answer. I think we would see slightly lower inflation for sure, but it would not mean that there would be no inflation.
Thank you. So is there any sense to like the stimulus, but to increase interest rates, kind of to temper it? Is that just unheard of?
Sorry, could you clarify your question?
So we had a lot of federal stimulus, billions of dollars. Okay, meanwhile, or I guess the reduction in interest rates is the stimulus, but people were given cash. So would it have made sense to provide cash stimulus, but at the same time raise interest rates a little bit as we went, instead of now like just these massive interest rate increases?
So I think they would probably not have done both at the same time, just because one is a more expansionary policy versus one is a more contractionary policy, and they would contradict each other in terms of what it intends to do. So what happened was, like you mentioned, they lowered rates and then they gave cash, so it's like a double whammy, right? So it made the impacts even more than if they just did one thing. So that definitely made the situation worse. And now we're doing the opposite thing, right? So we're increasing rates and not giving cash. Well, there's still some cash being given out, but not as much as before. So I think now if the focus is really just on controlling the inflation, because that's really eroding people's purchasing power. And that is definitely different from what they did initially during the pandemic.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Mrs. Palmer, thank you very much. Unless there's any other questions. Thank you for the report. A lot of information there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So the recommendation is to note on file, colleagues? Note on file. Okay.
Thank you.
The third report this evening is the approval to utilize $1.1 million of unused public benefit funds for the Burbank Utility Service Subsidy Program, a new income-qualified residential assistance program for utility service customers. Jeannie Ann Edwards, Assistant General Manager of Sustainability, Marketing, and Strategy in Burbank Water and Power, please present the report. Welcome again.
Hi. It's good to see you again. Honorable Mayor Talamantes, distinguished council member Bob Frutos, Nick Schultz, and Sharon Springer, and our neighbors who are watching. So I am Janine Edwards, the Assistant General Manager of Sustainability, Marketing, and Strategy at Burbank Water and Power. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I am here to request your approval for the Burbank Utility Service Subsidy, a residential assistance program for utility service customers. This program will provide utility customers 12% off their electric services. This program will be funded by $1.1 million of unused electric public benefits funds that were set aside by City Council to provide financial assistance to our community during the COVID pandemic. Prior to my presentation on the details of the program, I just wanted to provide an update on the assistance Burbank Water and Power has provided to our community during the pandemic. Council approved $2 million to assist the community, to provide financial assistance to the community. To date, almost $3.3 million has been provided to customers. $900,000 of that came from Burbank Water and Power Public Benefits Funds, and $2.4 million of that has come from the state. So Burbank Water and Power applied to the state on behalf of our customers to help forgive their arrears. Burbank Water and Power has also applied for an additional $2.4 million to assist with arrears for customers, to assist with customer arrears during during July 1st through December 31st of 2021. Our current programs serve residents who are at about 50% of the median income here in Burbank. This is equivalent to about 250% of federal poverty guidelines. The federal government provides home energy assistance program, which includes utility assistance plus weatherization and energy efficiency. Our Lifeline rate assistance provides 40% off electricity and exempts customers from the 7% utility users tax. This program requires that customers are at that income qualified level, as well as have a person who is 62 years or older or disabled in their household. Our life support program provides provides a discount to customers who are using life support equipment. And our Project Share program provides a $100 bill credit to customers who are in need. Our new program, next slide. During the pandemic, Burbank Water and Power set up several programs to assist customers. We had over 8,000 customers participate in our program and distributed over $900,000. We also learned a lot. There are a lot of customers who are above the income qualification levels of our standard program, who are still struggling with inflation and the cost of living in Burbank. The insights we gained from the COVID-related assistance programs helped us design a new program, which is the Burbank Utility Service Subsidy. The income qualification is set at Burbank Parks and Rec pass levels, which, as I mentioned before, is at 60% of the median household income. It provides a 12% discount on electric service. This will be verified by tax returns and the last paycheck. It provides an ongoing monthly discount with requalification required annually. This table here provides an overview of income eligibility. So for a family of one, our current Lifeline program would require that a household earn less than $41,400. In the new program, a household of one would make would be able to qualify if they make $69,580 or less. Typically, a family of four in the Lifeline program would need to have an income of $59,100 or below. With the new bus program, it would be raised to $92,610. In doing our research for this new program, we wanted to set the discount at a meaningful amount. If you remember, not too long ago, my colleagues presented 9% rate increase to water services and a 6% increase to electric services. This had a total impact. This will have a total impact of $8 for our multifamily customers and about $14 for our single-family customers. In order to continue to help our community work through the economic effects of the pandemic, we have set the bus program at a 12% discount, which is equivalent to the increases that our customers will see in their water and electric bill. In terms of estimates for our participation in our program, there is a range between $2,500 and $5,000. We do not collect household income information for our customers. We do know how many customers participate in our Lifeline program, which is about 1,200. We also know how many people participated in our COVID programs at these new income levels, which was about 2,000 people. So our best estimate would be those about at a minimum 2,500 customers would participate with an upper end at about 5,000. And that upper end comes from our demographic analysis by zip code, as well as customers who are still experiencing arrears and haven't paid their bills in over 90 days. Based on these participation levels, high and low, the $1.1 million of funding that we're requesting could provide funding for this program for up to almost 2 years at the high level and almost 4 years at the low level. This table here actually provides an example of an even lower participation at 1,000. And at that particular level, there would be, a cost of $117,000. At the high level, this just provides additional detail on how we got the calculations. Community outreach that we are planning to do and have done. So we have, in our digital currents, we have informed the community that we are coming to council to request approval for this program. Community members had the opportunity to email us back to be put on a list once this program is approved, so they will be notified that the application is available for them to apply as soon as July 1st. In addition, we have a partnership with Parks and Rec. Their income qualified program is set at the same levels, so we will be sharing that data. So community members who apply to the PASS program will be immediately qualified for this bus program. We will also have our community organizations that we work with. Burbank Temporary Aid Center is one of those community members, as well as Home Again. They are administrators on our behalf, so they collect customers' information, verify their taxes, as well as verify their pay stubs. And once they are qualified, they send us information, and then we enroll them. So BTAC, as well as Home Again, will be acting as administrators to make sure that we're reaching different members of the community. And that is the end of my presentation. We're requesting the approval of the $1.1 million, but I am ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. First, we're going to go to any public comment.
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't have cards.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
How much does a family qualify for? I mean, how much, is there a maximum, a minimum, or?
Well, 12% will be the discount, so it really depends on the usage. So are you asking, like, what could be the highest?
Yeah, well, or give me a middle figure.
Oh, that's the middle figure.
So 12% of,
Oh, 12% here. Let's go to this slide here. Oh, if you wouldn't mind putting the slide back up. No, I'll get it right here. Okay. So I'll go to this slide here. On this slide here, you can see the average electric bill for a multifamily customer is about $65. And for a single family, it's about $120. So the discount on a monthly basis for a multifamily household will be about $8, and for a single family will be about $15.
and that's just taken off the monthly bill.
That is taken off their electric services bill, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? Councilmember Schultz?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards. Great presentation. I just had 3 brief questions.
Yes.
So picking up right where you left off, so this is going to be offering our ratepayers a break on the electric side of things. Can you speak to why it's not applicable to the water rate increases, which were higher, closer to 9%?
Yeah.
And then does staff have anything in the works to assist with that aspect of it?
Yes, to answer your question, this program is being funded by electric public benefits. So that money is restricted and can only be used to subsidize electric services. We do not have a mechanism on the water side that is equivalent, that would allow us to use funds to subsidize our customers' bill. So in general, the council provides the guidance at how we set our low-income programs. The intent of this is to help customers who are just struggling to keep up with inflation and the cost of living. So we decided to set it at a level that will help offset their utility services bill increase that they'll see starting July 1st.
Thank you very much. My second question was, it said in the staff report, and I know it was in the presentation, that starting July 1, folks can apply for the program in the lobby of Burbank Water and Power. Has staff given any thought to whether folks could at least start the application process online? I imagine they need to come in so we can verify who they are and where they have service, but just sort of finding ways to speed it up for customers who maybe are trying to get there on a break from work and can't spend an hour filling out the form and everything. Have we given any thought to how we speed that process up?
Yes, we've given a lot of thought on how to speed that up. Our biggest constraint is encrypting any data over a website type of platform. And so people are going to be sending us their tax information as well as check stubs, which is very private information, personally identifiable information. We currently are not set up to receive that electronically. However, you bring up a very good point in terms of customers, particularly in this demographic, may not have the opportunity to come to Burbank Water and Power and spend a half hour there, an hour there to provide verification. I will take that feedback to my team. I think something that we can do to accommodate that is set up appointments so that at least a resident will know that when they show up, they will have an opportunity to speak with somebody immediately to get that paperwork processed.
Thank you, and I know you're great at your job, the whole BWP team is, so whatever you can come up with, because that's really my concern, are folks that are working a job and they're just trying to get there on the break, and they may only have 20 minutes. So I think the appointment method would be a really great way to maybe thread that needle. My last question was, going back to your sixth slide, the one that was labeled customer program income eligibility. I just wanted to ask a really basic question, but for folks who might be watching at home and wondering, hey, do I apply? So if I'm reading this correctly, if you're a household size of 4 and you make no more than $92,610 annually, you can qualify for the program. Is that right?
That is right. And, I know that is right. I know that might seem, that's a lot for a family of 4. In Burbank, it really doesn't go that far. What I know is that 2 employees for the Burbank Unified School District, barely meet that threshold and are struggling to find affordable housing within the community. And they benefit a lot from our PASS program, being able to enroll their kids at a discounted rate. And we know that providing them this discount to offset the rate increase that we need to do to meet our sustainability goals is really going to be helpful for them.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes, thank you very much for your report. So on page 4, really by using electric benefit funds, we are covering the water rate
We
increase.
And that's we set it at that to really meet the directives that you guys provided during our budget meetings to make sure we are providing some sort of safety net for our customer or for our community that cannot afford the rate increase. So this is a way to help balance that.
Okay, so thank you very much for doing this so quickly, because basically we're helping 2,500 to 5,000 people.
Yes.
With the rate increase that was so important for us to pass so we can reach our maintenance requirements and our renewable goals.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the guidance that this council has provided. We are moving into a time where, as you guys know, meeting our sustainability goals is very challenging. The solutions aren't easy. And so, as you've heard my boss, Ms. Dawn Roth-Lindell say, no ideas are off the table, and we really take that to heart because we have to find some creative solutions to get through this time.
That's good to hear. Now, when we talk about 2,500 to 5,000 people or households?
Households.
Households.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have about 45,000 households right now who receive, residents who receive utility services.
Another suggestion I have for your appointment interviews,
Yeah.
try to make them maybe early before people go to work and late, after 5 o'clock.
We will have restrictions because our lobby is only open for a certain time, but we will look into that.
Well, we'll have to change that.
I know.
Or walk him into an office instead of going to the lobby. Anyway, that's just
No,
a
I
suggestion.
agree,
You know,
and-
just food for thought, take it back to the team and
I
discuss it.
appreciate it.
The other thing too is make the forms available so people can get the forms, you know, download the forms, start filling them out. That way when they get there.
Yeah. So after this meeting, we have the forms digital available for download, and we will be loading them up in anticipation. And like I said, the good thing about this is we have a lot of customers who participated in our COVID relief programs that were at this income threshold. We know to target them immediately because they previously qualified. We know that there are about 400 households who are in the process of renewing for their past program who will also be able to immediately qualify. So we are trying to get the word out.
That's great.
And connect with the community.
Any other comments? Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Yes, please.
I'd be glad to make the motion and support this agenda item to approve the Burbank Water and Power to utilize 1.1 million of unused public benefit funds for the Burbank Utility Service Subsidy BUSS program, a new income qualified residential assistance program for utility service customers, and authorize the BWP general manager or her designee to administer and implement the program.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Springer seconds. Any further discussion? Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Frutos?
Yes.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Mayor Talamantes?
Yes, definitely. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what I would like to ask before we leave that agenda item? To give us an update, maybe quarterly or maybe every 6 months, just to see how it's going? I would ask for a quarterly, if my colleagues agree with that. A quarterly report?
I would be happy to do that. I
Excellent.
really think just, you heard what our treasurer just said about the economy and the recovery,
Right.
and we're as interested to share with you what we're seeing from our community as much as you guys are of seeing what the impacts are.
Definitely.
We'll be
Thank you
happy
very
to come
much.
back.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. The final report this evening is the appointment to fill one vacancy on the Transportation Commission for an unexpired term. Madam City Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on May 4th. The City Clerk's Office began advertising and accepting applications for the vacancy on the Transportation Commission for an unexpired term ending July 31st, 2023. This was created by the resignation of Commissioner Kimberly Yu, as she was no longer available to serve. In order to obtain qualified candidates, a notice of the vacancy was advertised through the city website, city council meeting announcements, social media, press release to LA Times, Burbank Leader, and myburbank.com. Notices also were posted at City Hall and community groups and organizations. The deadline to submit an application to the city clerk's office was Friday, June 3rd at 5 p.m. The city clerk's office received 4 applications, and I'm going to call their names in order as we received them. Steve Begomian, Edronis Fashati, and I'm so sorry, I'm sure I did something wrong here. Jason Bennett and Narek Makarotian. No, it's Makarotemian. This is the ultimate test. The applications are listed in order received, and they all have met the COVID vaccine requirement. I want to bring something to your attention that if the following applicants, Steve Bekomian, and also has also applied for the Building and Fire Code Appeal Board, and is the incumbent, as his term is set to expire for July 31st this year. Jason Bennett has also applied for the Sustainable Burbank Commission. If appointed tonight, one of their names will be removed from the consideration for the Building Fire Code Appeal and a Sustainable Commission appointment, which is scheduled to take place on July 12th. And those are the ones that we already sent to council in the packet. With that, if council is ready and they don't have any questions, I'm happy to conduct the
Do
vote.
we have any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor, we don't.
Just following the
Thank
script.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know the city attorney is really happy about you asking.
Yes, yes, he smacks me up behind the head when I miss something. And Viviana, too. Okay, so go ahead, proceed. We only have one appointment per council member.
That's correct. One vacancy, one appointment per council member. That's correct. So I'm going to go ahead and read the names and also go back and take the vote. Right now, Steve Begomian, Idronis Fishati, Jason Bennett, and Narek McDromian. Taking the vote right now for Steve Begomian. I have one vote. Jason Bennett.
We skip one.
I'm sorry. Adrianus Ficati. I have 3 votes. So congratulations. If you'd like to make it unanimously, we're happy to do that.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make it unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now we have 4 votes. And that conclude our appointment. So congratulations.
Congratulations to the new Transportation Commissioner. Welcome. Like I said early on, a lot of qualified, some overqualified applicants, but don't give up. Keep checking the city clerk's website, and every now and then, if you see something that you are interested in, apply. So thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, this is time for brief council comments, including reporting on council committee assignments. Colleagues, Councilmember Frutos?
Because it's 8:10, I've got a 4-page dissertation here that I'd like to start. I'd first like to thank the president, my congressman, my state senator. No, I'll be short, colleagues. Okay, going back to Wednesday, June the 8th, I attended the Board of Library Trustees meeting. Nothing really to report out, except they're all reapplying that are due for reappointment. They're excited to continue to serve. On Friday, June the 10th, I represented us on the Public Safety Policy Committee with the, I keep forgetting, it's no longer the League of California, it's Cal Cities now. And nothing really to report out, but we did have some discussions regarding the Indian gaming advertising. We keep seeing it was a really big discussion on that one. On Sunday, June the 10th, I attended the Road Kings Car and Motorcycle Show. It was definitely well attended. Both our state senator and assembly member were present joining us. On Monday the 13th, I attended a ribbon cutting, Crowded Boost Marketing Company at the Chamber. On Wednesday the 15th, I attended the Police Commission meeting. Nothing really to report out. I'm sure if I miss something, my colleague who sits with me will save me for failing to report something. And then on Monday, June the 20th, I did attend the Sustainable Burbank Commission. The one thing I do have to report back to the council, it was a matter of a pretty tough discussion that the commission feels very strongly to increase community participation and attendance. They would like to wonder if the council would consider entertaining, and I'll bring it up as an agenda item for discussion formally, but to report out is they want to be able to have the option of also providing a Zoom linkage during their meeting for more community participation. And then on Tuesday, June the 21st, I attended the AME Institute 2022 kickoff campaign with Warner Brothers and Walt Disney partnering up with the Arts for All, which is now a new name. But today was their kickoff campaign, and our economic development team member was there representing the city. And it was really special for Greg Alamo from our Veterans Committee to set up the Army birthday cake cutting ceremony that I shared with our mayor. And that is it. And I still like to thank the president, my congressman, and my state senator.
Thank you. Next.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor. I also want to acknowledge that Ross Benson from myburbank.com is here covering the council meeting. Thank you, Ross.
Is that part of your reporting out?
That's it.
Councilmember Springer?
Oh, it's okay. Go for it.
Okay. Thank you. I attended several of my housing policy committees, one with SCAG and then several with Cal Cities, and we wrapped up the Cal Cities Housing Policy Committee by coming up with some issues to take back to the executive board within the context of maintaining local control. I attended the park board meeting and Road King's Car and Motorcycle Show and Crowd Boost Marketing at the Chamber. And I attended the PFLAG meeting, followed by the community circles the following night. And the community circles I recommend, if you have not been, they're very perspective enhancing. I always leave feeling enhanced after those meetings. And I met with several community members concerning sustainability. For example, Craig Hempel and Wendy James. I think you know them. I attended the Transportation Commission meeting last night. Great board there. And that pretty much wraps it up for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Schultz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to echo the fact that we have the crack team of Ross Benson and Christian Leonard from the Leader still here, so thank you both. My reporting out. So on Friday, June 10th, I participated in the Cal Cities Environmental Quality Policy Committee. It was our final meeting. I just wanted to share with my colleagues that one of the things we talked about in that meeting was an example of a good reach code that has been effectively done by the city of Emeryville. They actually provided a staff report and sample ordinance. I forwarded that to the city manager since I know that's now part of our GGRP, which we've adopted, something we'll be working on for next year. And I thought, why reinvent the wheel? Emeryville did it pretty darn well. That evening, I also joined the mayor at the VICA, which stands for the Valley Industry Commerce Association annual San Fernando Valley Business Hall of Fame. A lot of elected officials and industry leaders there. It was a really great night to celebrate what we're doing in the San Fernando Valley. As Councilmember Frutos mentioned, on Monday the 13th, I was at the ribbon cutting for Crowd Boost Marketing. Glad to have them in Burbank. With regards to the Police Commission meeting on June 15th, the only thing I would add to Councilmember Frutos' comments is that their next meeting on July 20th, if I'm not mistaken, will be devoted to school safety. So if there are folks who have kids in schools who are wondering what we're doing to keep them safe, that would be a really great meeting to tune into. Councilmember Frutos covered the comment from yesterday's Sustainable Burbank Commission meeting. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about two very brief events. Last Friday, the 17th, our public library, in collaboration with the Social Impact Center, put on a really amazing panel about effective allyship with the LGBTQ plus community. Our state senator was there, a really well-attended event and just so well done. And on Sunday, Councilmember Springer, I saw you and I saw our state senator again. He's spending a lot of time in Burbank, and we love that, at the Juneteenth event at Yumi Credit Union. So a lot of fun things happening in Burbank.
Yes, indeed. We are the place to go to. Anyway, just a few items from my reporting out. Like it was mentioned by Councilmember Schultz, I attended the VICA's 15th Annual San Fernando Valley Business Hall of Fame dinner. I was also present at the Road King's Car and Motorcycle Show. Amazing. I mean, I don't think they had any space available for any additional cars throughout that park. It was very impressive to see such a great turnout. I also attended the ribbon cutting at the chamber for Crowd Boost Marketing Company. I had a Lausanne Special Executive Committee meeting. I did the welcoming remarks for the California Municipal Revenue Association. Let's see, what else? I attended the Chamber's monthly meeting along with the city manager. I was asked to judge Black Angus Grill Off, which was very fun last Thursday. They had a couple of chefs that were there, and there was a competition between a foodie, what they refer to as a foodie, and the chef from Black Angus. And the chef from Black Angus, there were three judges, we voted the Black Angus chef won by 4 points. So it was pretty close. And the food was ribeye steaks. Anyway. And let's see. Today I had the Lausanne board meeting, And I also listened to the Bryce Canyon Park Sports Field Redesign Community Workshop. What they're presenting is amazing. I mean, it's a reconfiguration of up there at Bryce Park, and it's going to just transform the whole facility, which what they presented was awesome. But the community's going to really enjoy that. There's going to be a lot of different venue. I mean, you still got the 2 baseball fields, but then they're also going to be using for soccer and lacrosse. It's going to be awesome if it gets approved by a city council somewhere. And then we attended the Army birthday cake cutting ceremony with Greg Alimo. So that's all I have. Thank you very much, colleagues. Now's the time for introduction of additional agenda items. Members, Councilmember Frutos?
Yes, on behalf of the Burbank Sustainable Commission, Mr. City Manager, even a white paper to the council members on what's the possibility of allowing some of our boards and commissions to have the option of Zoom meetings for more community participation. It could be a simple white paper, just kind of see which way the council goes for another further agenda item.
First step. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Springer?
I would like to include businesses in the neighborhood outreach for the neighborhood protection plan for Orchard, Olive, and Raising Cane. Outreach to the businesses. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple items, Mr. City Manager. I'd like to have an update on the Community Service Officer Program. And I also like to get an update, a report on the parking control officers at the downtown area and Magnolia Park area. The reason I'm asking for that, I've had several business owners come to me and ask me, do we still have a 2-hour limit parking? The signs say so, but I've seen cars that are there 4 or 5, 6 hours. So do we have a parking control program or not? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So we now adjourn the meeting in memory of Leila Ramirez, mother of former Burbank Mayor Marcia Ramos, to Tuesday, July 12, 2022, for a regular meeting in the council chambers. The public may view the meeting online or on television and will be able to provide public comment in the following 4 ways. In person for general public comment, public hearings, and reports to council, by calling in directly to the council meeting to speak during the general public comment period and public hearing items only, by leaving an e-comment on the city webpage, and by emailing the city council directly. So we're adjourned. Thank you and good night. Thank you.